Alright, hello everyone. This is going to be kind of like a 2 or 3 part series. But what we're going to do is we're basically going to set up a exchange environment where we're going to be able to transfer mail in between users and things like that. And we're going to start from the ground up so you all can see how it's done. So first we have our domain controller here that we're going to be joining another Windows server to this domain controller. This is a brand new domain controller. There's nothing set up on it. All I did was change the PC name on it, in which we still need a restart for that to even take effect. But first we're going to set some static IP on this. Properties. And I'm mainly going to do the GUI version of things until we get to the install of the Exchange server. The default subnet mask of a /24. And the default gateway and your IP address in your environment might be a tad bit different. And then our IP and preferred DNS server is going to be the same. And then we're going to just use Google's alternate DNS server. Close. That's going to say no internet access, but it just went away. We can confirm there is internet by just going to Amazon.com. And boom, we have Amazon.com. So there's internet access to this computer, which is good. So when we go to our File Explorer, this PC, Properties, as you can see here, change the name to DC3, but changes will take effect after we restart the computer, which we still need to do. But before we do that, there are a few roles we have to install on this domain controller itself. Let this load for a few seconds. So we just go to Manage, Add Roles and Features. Gotta wait for this to be done. Okay, so we're going to skip this page by default. And we need Active Directory domain services, which is going to install your AD group policy, things like that. We don't need a DHCP server since we're statically assigning stuff, but we definitely do need the DNS server. And we're also going to do the web server IIS. Okay, so we'll hit next on that. Don't need any of this being installed. Next. 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 This can all be default. I don't, yes. Install. Alright, so I'm going to let this install and I will be right back. Alrighty, this it was done installing the roles. We still have not did a restart yet, but what we're going to do is we're going to promote this server to the domain controller now. And actually, before we do that, I'm going to go ahead and just do a restart, just to be on the safe side. So we're going to restart this computer real quick. Sometimes this takes a little bit, but I've seen it take way longer before. Okay, so now we got that. Cool. Send Control Alt Delete. And we're going to log in. I don't know if y'all can hear, but you might even hear my server in the background running. Okay. Manage. Won't come up yet because it's not done loading. Okay, so now we can promote this server to the domain controller. And since this is a completely new domain controller, we're not adding it to another one. We're not adding to existing forests or anything like that, which is a whole another topic. We're going to create a new forest for our domain. And what do we want our domain name to be? Let's just do bradsysadmin.local. Hit next. And this also takes a couple minutes to go through. I would make sure you remember this password for your DSRM. Go ahead next on that. And DNS delegation, we don't need anything like that for this. And then Brad sysadmin, this is not going to put in the .local. Hit next, and this is what you would put as if like you're on a Windows security box where it's asking you for your credentials or something like that. Sometimes you have to put domain and backslash and then your username. This can all be left the same. And this probably will take a few minutes. There might be some errors on here. You can completely ignore them. They're fine. But after this completes, then it, so as you can see here, some of these errors, you don't have to worry about them though. All the prerequisites passed successfully. So we're going to go ahead and install this. This will take about 5-10 minutes sometimes, maybe longer. So I'm going to stop the recording and I will be back. Okay, so the roles, it has been successfully installed, so now we just did a simple reboot real quick. And that should be about all we have to do to this domain controller itself. We're just going to make sure the Active Directory users and computers, aka AD, is on here and the DNS server is configured, which really we don't have to configure anything. I forgot, actually, we are going to have to do one thing on this PC, this domain controller, because from what I've seen when you install like a default ISO, Windows Server, whatever, the ICMP request for IPv4 turned off. So if I set up this Exchange server and I try to ping the domain controller, it's not going to get a reply. So we have to just turn that on manually. Or since it's a lab environment, you can turn the firewall completely off, but I don't recommend that just because it's not done in a real environment, so I just don't recommend it in your home environment. Hopefully this doesn't take too much longer. This takes too much longer. I'll just stop the recording and come back because I don't want to waste your all's time. Alright, what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop the recording and I will be back. Okay, we are finally back. Took longer than expected. Wait for this to load. While that's loading, I can show you all the firewall rule that we have to change here. We go to inbound rules, and it is file and share printer sharing. We can just do this. Okay, so it is turned on. Cool. I know before, I think it was on, maybe it was Windows 10 machines on ISOs where it was default turned off. Yep, that's good. This still load. What service is it? I'm not worried about that. So if we go to tools, Active Directory users and computers. As you can see here, we have our new domain. These are the default folders, I call them. But I think they're called containers. And we got our users here and things like that. We're not going to create any custom users at this moment. That's that. So we got a tools DNS. See, we have our DC3 for lookup zones. And then you can also create more lookup zones here. Create an A record, MX record, whatever. A lot of different stuff in DNS, but that's a totally different subject for this. So I think this is good here. So now what we're going to do is we're going to switch over. Give me 1 second. Let me get that pulled up real quick. Our Exchange server. Remote console. Okay. I haven't set up any RDP stuff or anything like that on here, so I'm just using VMware tools and things. Okay, so this is our 2016 server. This is our Exchange. What we're going to be installing Exchange on and running it on. We have not did anything to this yet either. Everything is still the same. Properties. So on the last one we did 192.168.8.100. For this, number lock is not turned on. We're going to do .8.105/24 subnet, 192.168.8.1. DNS server is going to be the 1.8.100, and our alternate one. Cool, close. We'll let that go through. Then we need to change the PC name on this. And we're just going to do Exchange 101. And while we are at it, what we can do is we can go to our domain and we can do Brad sysadmin.local, and this should come up right away. Yep, so that means it can connect, and just to verify that it can see our domain, we ping DC3. Oh, ping DC3. As you can see, we're getting the MAC address. I'm sorry, the IPv6, but that's fine. Ping DC3.sysadmin. And there you go. Now we're getting the IP address of the server. Close that. So what we're going to do is here, we're going to type in Brad sysadmin /administrator. And then the password. And that should join us to the domain. Yep, welcome. Anytime you join a computer to the domain, it has to be restarted. We'll restart later though. First on this server, I just want to make sure that the ICMP request to this computer is turned on, which it should be. but just to be on the safe side. So no, it is not actually. Okay. So what we need to do is we need to enable this rule. So now when we pull up the other one, which we haven't actually done that yet, we need to restart it. So I'm going to go ahead and restart this, and then once I come back, we will transition over to the domain controller again. Okay, so now we're back on the domain controller itself. And if we refresh this, we should see, yep, the DNS record, a record for IPv4, which is right here, the .8.105, which is good. So now if we just try to ping exchange 101, as you can see, we're getting replies from it too, since we turned on that IPv4 firewall rule. Okay, so now if we go to Active Tools, Active Directory users and computers, we go to the computers container, which is the default. So basically, if you add a computer to the domain, if you don't put the computer inside of a special organizational unit first, it will automatically get dropped into this computers container. As you can see right here, exchange 101, exchange 101.brad.sysadmin.local. And from what I know, the DNS name right here will not be filled out if you just add the computer inside of AD first. Basically, if you add the computer inside of AD first, and then you join it to the domain, that's when the DNS name will populate for you. You don't have to manually add it or anything else. Okay, so that's that. And that should be it for this part 1 series. The main part is getting the Exchange server set up on the Exchange server itself, and which is probably takes 15, 20, 30 minutes maybe if you know what you're actually doing. But that's going to be for another video, so the first video is not too long. But I mean, this first video for the series can be applied to anything. It can be applied to a Windows 10 computer, join it to the domain. It's the same exact process. It's just we're joining a server to another server, which is the domain controller. So that should be it, and then I will be back for the next series, and then we will get everything installed and get the Exchange server up and running, and hopefully start transferring emails between users, and get into the Exchange admin center. But actually, what we can do is, just so we're prepared, we can just go ahead and create 2 test users. There is PowerShell way to create users, things like that, but we're just going to do the GUI way for simplicity. Brad Williams, logo name Brad. I believe in when you build stuff from the ground up and issues come about, things start breaking and things like that. That's when you're able to troubleshoot stuff better. And everything we're doing here can be applied to anything you're trying to do lab-wise. So if you just want to add a user for labbing, go ahead and do that. I mean, Active Directory is used in many environments. And it's very, very good skill to know. Even if you're a sysadmin, I still use AD every single day. And I'm a sysadmin myself. Alrighty, that's done now. So yeah, we are done with that, and then we will come back for our next series and try to get Exchange built up for you all. Thank you, and have a great night / morning or day.